Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the trade deadline edition of Just Parlays. I'm Jim Williams, along with my buddy, partner in crime, the parlay master himself, Chris King. Christopher, as we were talking early on, there's been, they finally moved Juan Soto. Juan is headed west, young man, to a
That's
place
true.
where you could go to a worse place. San Diego is a lovely city, great baseball town. I really, as a Nationals guy, I'm sad to see Juan go, but I do think that he's going to make San Diego better, and I think that the kids that they got in return will, make the Nationals better. And the one guy who doesn't want to be in this deal is Hosner, and he's not going to stop it. So, one way or another, Hosner may still be with the Padres tonight, but Juan Soto will also be, a part of the team.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if Andrew Friedman pulls a deal now before 6 o'clock because, I know everybody said that they were trying to get Soto. It was them and the Cardinals and San Diego. And, is this going to be a place where Friedman makes a move, or does he just say, well, we're the Dodgers and we're 55,000 games ahead of everybody else, so it doesn't really matter. The question is, who can they go out and get?
I think, and I don't know that there's anybody that is going to warrant, a big time thing, but they need bullpen help. And so they may go out and pull off a deal to get themselves another arm or two. It won't be a big name, but it may be in their minds, just something that they need to get them, over the hump. So I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Andrew made a trade. But I do believe that at the end of the day, they kind of calculated, okay, are we going to really push for Juan? And when they looked at what the asking price was and they looked at what San Diego was willing to give, probably they said, that's great. Doesn't make it easier for us because San Diego is in our division, and San Diego, even though they're behind, they certainly are a wild card team at the very least. So at that end, you have to believe. And look, yeah, they got Soto. Yes, they got Josh Bell. That both in the same trade, but they also picked up Hosmer yesterday, and so that helped the back end of that bullpen. It's still not a great pitching staff, but it's good enough.
Well, yeah, they've got a couple good starters. You've got Musgrove, though he's fallen off after starting 8-0, and then you got Darvish, who pitches really good at home,
right,
and really lousy on the road,
right.
And then you've got Clevenger,
right,
who's trying to get back to the way he was a few years ago in Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, you got Nick Martinez, who you brought back from Japan or Korea or wherever he was playing overseas. And then you've got, Gore's hurt, and they just traded him anyway. So I don't know if their pitching matches up with the Dodgers in the rotation. I mean, yeah, like you said, getting Hader was a big move. Scott and I talked about that yesterday. Because, Taylor Rogers, sure, he was second in the NL in saves, but his numbers were horrible over the last month or so. And, would you rather have a guy that, has been basically unhittable the last few years, or a guy that, is kind of the flash in the pan?
Yeah, well, I mean, Josh has been giving up some home runs, okay? But at the end of the day, if you put him out there and he's in the middle of a pennant race, you're going to see a lot of swing and miss stuff because he's just a talented guy and he throws the ball. As the old saying goes, the old pirate announcer, the late great Bob Prince, used to say he could throw it so hard he could throw it through a car wash and not get it wet. So, he definitely is that kind of guy.
Bob Prince saw a lot of guys like that could throw for Pittsburgh back in the day too. So
back in the day, that's right. Bob Veal is the name of the guy who he said could throw the ball so hard it would go through a car wash and not get it wet. Nicholas and James, good to see you. James, what's Tennessee and Ball State?
He's talking about college football already.
Oh,
the Volunteers at Ball State. I think that's the good old week 0 type of game.
Okay, all right. I was going to say I don't think they're playing tonight, but okay.
Yeah, it's still a few weeks off.
It's a future, huh?
Yeah, it's tough to get a handle on Ball State. They were an up and down team last season. It's always tough to be a mid-major conference team going into a big environment, especially one like Knoxville, where you're going to see probably 100,000 people because everybody's hyped up about Tennessee this year. Would you say that's accurate, Jim?
Oh,
at Neyland Stadium?
102,000 in I gotta say, Neyland is one of the most enjoyable play. I don't like Tennessee, being a Gator fan, but nevertheless, I will say that going to Neyland is it's nice because it's right there on the river, and so there's a lot of people who actually come by boat to the game. So picturesque. It's quite it's quite a nice place. Should Ball State lose to Tennessee? By 32 points, that's a lot of points, especially in the first game of the season.
Yeah, you look last year, they lost to Penn State 44-13. They lost to Wyoming 45-12, but they also beat Army, and Army of course has been a decent team the last few years.
Right.
And Ball State, do I think they're a team that can match up with Tennessee? No. Do I think that Tennessee's going to beat them by almost 5 touchdowns again? Probably no. I just don't have a ton of faith in the Volunteers. They've got to find some pass receivers because, Velus Jones is now with the Bears, and they didn't have a ton of good receivers a year ago. I'm going to have to look deeper into it, but my first lean would be that's an awful lot of points for a team to give up in week 1 when you haven't done anything of value. And that basically sums up Tennessee in a nutshell. What have they done for me? Nothing.
Yeah. They've underachieved.
Basically, I mean, you look at their last few seasons and, they haven't been great. They were 7-6 a year ago. They were 3-7 in the last year of Jeremy Pruitt. I know everybody likes Josh Heupel, when he coached down at FAU and everything else. But, there's a big difference to coaching in the SEC. And yeah, they averaged almost better than 39 points a game last year, but they gave up more than 29 a game.
Right.
And you can't play that kind of defense. You look, they 20 to South Carolina, 31 to Ole Miss. Down the stretch, 52 to Alabama, 42 to Kentucky, 41 to Georgia. Then they gave up 48 to Purdue in the Music City Bowl. I don't want to give 32 points to a team that gave up 29 points.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like a wise thing. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy.
So I would not touch. Yeah, I would not touch Tennessee up 32.
That's a game you can watch and figure it out. There's probably, and by the time we get to that point, I'm sure we'll have many of different options for you to see. Speaking of options, BetMGM has a great deal for you, first-time users. On their app or the website, get a risk-free bet of up to $1,000. All the information is in our show box below. Always bet responsibly, and also remember that there's age limits in certain states. Some states you can be 18, some states you can be 21. But it's always good to work with our buddies at BetMGM. Give them a look. It's in the show box below. We always do, and we're happy to have them as a sponsor. So good on the folks at BetMGM, and we'll get a little more deeper into college football in a week or two. So give us some time here, boys and girls. But Tennessee and Ball State, the thing that I've always thought with Tennessee, and we're going all the way back to Phil Fulmer, right, is that they have good football players, okay, but they find a way to screw it up. And I don't know how that works. Again, as a Florida fan, I more than happy. Steve Spurrier's great line, you can't spell citrus without UT. As he was tweaking them about constantly ended up in Citrus Bowl as the second best team. And it was not lost on Spurrier that the Tennessee Volunteers, led by Peyton Manning, never beat the Florida Gators. So the only Manning to beat them was Eli at Ole Miss. But anyway, so yeah, SEC football, we'll get into that later in the year. But anything, Chris, today on trade deadline, you're of course someone who understands and appreciates the gaming industry, and sports betting specifically on baseball. How do you, or do you, speak to anybody who's taking bets on a day like today when you don't know if one guy might get pulled at the last second? You might get a guy who shows up to play. There's a lot of flux here in these last couple of hours prior to game time, where guys, it's not like Juan Soto's going to have to get on a plane and fly across the country to San Diego, so he's not playing tonight. Nor is Josh Bell. Hader's not going to get there yet, so they're waiting for that to happen. And then, so you've got some teams that are in flux. You still have last minute trades that could be pulled that could very well, affect the wagering on a specific game, depending upon what team is doing what.
Yeah, basically you've got to, as much as I hate to say, you got to wait and see what happens, because obviously now that the Nationals just traded their two best bats in their lineup, that the line with the Mets is going to skyrocket. It was bad enough as it was because DeGrom, of course, making his first start of the season.
I was going to say, I was going to say,
Tim Earl was saying yesterday. Yeah, Tim was saying yesterday, that they were going to give DeGrom another start against a minor league team, so that's why he's starting against the Nationals. But now, you don't have Bell, you don't have Soto. That line's going to go from minus 320 to God knows what. It could. I know it's already gone up to, I think, anywhere between minus 355 or something like that. And it's probably going to just keep going up. So if you're going to try to touch that game, you need to jump on it sooner than later, because that number is not going to get any lower. But yeah, you raise a valid point. There's guys like Wilson Contreras could be traded by the Cubs by the deadline.
Right.
Take a key bat out of their lineup against St. Louis. We saw Montas get traded yesterday for Oakland. Basically, you've got to keep an eye out, and if there's something that may be going on involving a team that you think is going to either negatively impact them or positively impact the team they're playing, then you can jump on it. But some of these trades, and especially moving the deadline back to 6 o'clock as opposed to what it used to be. What was it, 3 or 4 in the afternoon?
It's 4.
Yeah, so moving it back a couple hours makes it that much more complicated for somebody that's waiting to see if something's going to go through at the last minute.
Well, yeah, and remember that these are trades that cannot be announced till the league has a chance to review them. So there might be a trade that happens at 5:30 or quarter, or 5 o'clock for that matter, or even 4:30. And the league, has to vet all this stuff. So that trade that is made today earlier, maybe 4 or 5 o'clock, may not be announced till 7 or 8 o'clock because of the league holdup on having to approve all of these trades. So again, it puts all the games really in flux. Certainly the games that begin at 7 o'clock. Anything after 7 o'clock that begins, in the Midwest, out in the Mountain Time Zone, or out west, you got a pretty good shot that it's going to be clear by that point. But 7 o'clock starts, you're spot on, Chris. There's any number of things could happen, and you may show up with a guy in your lineup that you didn't know you're going to have, or which is maybe a good thing.
Or you have a guy scratched at 5:30.
Right. Or how many times have we seen guys pulled off the field?
Right. So, and like Andrew said, the Nationals built a nice core when they had Harper and Scherzer and Strasburg and Soto and Rendon, and the only guy that's there is Strasburg, but he's hurt.
Well, so is Rendon.
True, but he's not there getting paid.
No.
It's no different than the Cubs. The Cubs had Bryant and Rizzo and Baez and all those guys, and they're all. Contreras is one of, I think, 3 guys that are left, and you got to remember Schwarber.
Yeah, Schwarber was on that team.
Schwarber was part of the gone. So you're down to Contreras, and you've got Kyle Hendricks who's injured, and that's the problem. You build a core, but it's such a narrow window where if you don't make things happen, people make changes.
Well, the 2012 Nationals, from 2012 to 2019, The Dodgers and the Nationals won more games in National League than any two teams in the National League. And it was no surprise, or shouldn't have been a surprise, that the Nationals won a World Series in 2019. I mean, I think what the Dodgers won the year after that, right? Was the Dodgers world champions in 2020 or 2021? I forget.
20.
Okay, so the Nationals got their window closed in 2019. The Dodgers window, which never closed in 2020. You had contracts that were on the outside. I mean, the Nationals knew that they were either going to get Strasburg or they were going to get, Rendon, and they both signed for the same amount of money. And I love Rendon, but he hasn't played, I think it's grand total of 64, 65 games in 2 years since he got traded. Bryce has had trouble in Philadelphia. Certainly, no question, there's been problems with Strasburg. There is no problem with Trey Turner. There's zero problems with Max Scherzer. And I think the only thing to worry about tonight, and I'm not saying worry, is I would guess that they're going to give Jacob maybe 1-2 times through the lineup. I don't see them going more than 5 innings with Jacob deGrom tonight.
Yeah,
there would
that's
be
true.
no need to do that. I mean, the Nationals are not. The Nationals aren't going to hurt you, and why would you not throw 60 good pitches, get him in, get him out, get him up sweat, make him feel good? You know, he's back in the major leagues. He's back at a ballpark a bit, major league ballpark. Give him a good clean start and get him back, to make sure he's healthy. There's absolutely no reason why he should throw more than 60 pitches against the Nationals tonight.
And it shows you how bad Washington's pitching depth is, that they're starting Corey Abbott, a guy that has made 3 relief appearances all season. And he's made, I think, put it this way, DeGrom has more Cy Youngs than Corey Abbott has major league wins.
Oops. Yeah.
Chris
is saying, Chris is saying that, no, I was just bringing some, Chris.
Yeah, the Padres on the run line. It's going to be interesting. It's a double header for them. They play at 4:05. It's Yu Darvish facing Ryan Feltner, and then at 10:05 you get Jose Urena going for the Rockies against Rice Neer. I'm not overly familiar with Neer. I know he was a bullpen guy before. I like Darvish in the opener. I liked it better when he was pitching at 10 o'clock. Because that's the way I wrote the game up originally, because it was supposed to be him and Urena at 10 o'clock, and then they flipped it around afterwards. But still, Darvish pitches very well at Petco. You could make a safe bet that Feltner won't be around come the 5th or 6th inning in that one. And I don't trust Colorado on the road.
No, and you know what? Both Andrew and Brandon are talking about Padres. Look, you got a great general manager in AJ. He's smart. He's fearless. The Padres threw the fear of God into the Dodgers by pulling the trade off. Now, look at they're going to have a great lineup. They still don't have the kind of pitching we talked about that. But you got Josh Hader, who can erase a lot of mistakes. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun night. I guess we should get to the games, Christopher?
Sure, why not?
Why not? What the heck? That's kind of what people are here to see. So, you ready? Let's go. And where are we going? We're going to San Francisco.
We're going to Oracle Park. Yep. The Dodgers and the Giants, yesterday when Rachel was here, of course, I hope he's supposed to be back tomorrow. Who knows? I basically treat you guys like, David Lee Roth, Sammy Hagar, and Gary Sharon.
Right.
From Van Halen.
Right.
So I'm basically the Van Halens as far as the show goes, but
you're the glue that holds it together, my friend.
But yeah, the Dodgers, Logan Webb pitched at Oracle Park yesterday. I talked about how well he's pitched there, but the one thing I said yesterday is the same thing I'm going to say today. The Giants had a pitching edge yesterday because Andrew Heaney, has probably overachieved in his appearances. but they didn't have the lineup to match up with the Dodgers, and look what happened. They lost 8-2.
Right.
Now it's Tyler Anderson, and I'll tell you what, the Dodgers seem to get good outing or good seasons out of pitchers that are nobodies, because you look and you see, Walker Buehler's been hurt, and Dustin May hasn't pitched, and Kershaw's been hurt, and Urias was bad, and then you look and Tony Gonsolin and Tyler Anderson are like a combined 23-2.
Right. Yeah.
And you're like, it's like the beginning of Major League when they're looking at the names that are on the Indians, and they're like, who are these guys?
Right.
That's basically what it is. Anderson toiled in Colorado. He wasn't good. He wasn't bad. He was a mediocre pitcher. He comes to Dodger State. He's 11-1. His ERA is under 1. He's averaging almost 5 strikeouts per walk. Meanwhile, Alex Wood, here's a guy that used to pitch for the Dodgers, and now he's somewhere else. Look what he is. He's a mediocre pitcher.
Right.
7-8, 4.11 ERA. The Dodgers are very good offensively, second in the majors in runs per game. They are first in the majors in runs per game on the road. They're 8-1 in their last 9 on the road. And people are like, well, why are they winning the NL West by double-digit games? Well, they beat everybody in the division. When you're 45-16 in your last 61 against the West, that's going to propel you above everybody else. And you look at the Giants, 1-6 in their last 7 after giving up 5 or more, and they're 0-8 in their last 8 divisional games. I can't put any faith in a team like the Giants at this stage of the season, and you have to wonder, will they trade anybody by 6 o'clock? There's talk they could deal Rodon, they could deal Yastrzemski, they could deal some other guys.
Yeah, Yastrzemski to me might be their most.
Who knows what to make of the Giants at this point?
No, you're right. There's really nothing that you can look at and say, this is bang on. This is exactly what we want. And the Giants might be in a better position, as you say, if they're sellers, because the chances are very slim that they're going to make the playoffs. So why not unload some stuff and see what you can get? So we'll see. I mean, they may be the ones that pull off a couple of deals at the end that will not make the fan base happy, but might make the team better in years to come. So we'll have to see. But you're right, could be. By the way, what do you think? You think that the
right,
Yankees?
They need to. You look at all the guys.
Yeah.
You got a lot of older guys in that lineup that aren't producing.
Right. Let's see where we go next. We're going to Jays and Rays at the Trop.
Yeah, and Jim, you know a lot about guys. Why does Tampa Bay not score any runs?
They don't have any hitters. I
noticed that yesterday when I was looking.
Did you was it Monday? When did you have Rock on? Was it Friday?
Friday.
Okay. I watched line, and that was every time he goes to the game or whatever, he sees another guy with a number 72 or 78 or 77 on their back, or some guy driving, pulling in a luggage cart because they just came in from Durham. So,
right.
It's they've got 18 guys on the IL. That's not good. And to be honest, the series with the Blue Jays followed by a series with, I'm going to say it, the Orioles. If Tampa Bay is going to make it for a playoff run or they're not, because they're going to have to beat the Blue Jays and they're going to have to beat the Orioles to get there.
And like David Good said, Tampa Bay hits like a little league team that's deprived of ice cream. I looked yesterday; they have two guys that have double-digit home runs, and that's it. And Paredes is a part-time player. He's only played like 58 games. The other is a Rosarena. And you look at the rest of this team, and they're all a bunch of punch and Judy hitters. And you got to face a Toronto team that's third in the majors in runs per game. They're second or third in the American League in home runs. And, they can put crooked numbers up in a hurry. Just ask Boston.
Well, I thought that they would go after Josh Bell. He would have been a perfect fit for the Rays. But nobody called me and asked me, so there we go in that regard. But I do think that the Rays may pull the trigger on a bat. I don't know who that bat would be, but they're, do you think, I mean, the Dodgers, the Yankees were looking to get rid of Gallo. Do you think the Yankees get rid of Gallo to the Rays?
According to Rochelle, they would basically give him away for, some barbecue or something like that because
somebody drive him to the airport. Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't fit in the system. He's batted about 160 since he went to New York. He strikes out a lot. He's basically, the old or the newer version of Rob Deere back when he played for Milwaukee in the 80s.
Sure. Yeah.
He'll hit 30 home runs, but he'll strike out 200 times.
Right.
I don't know if Gallo's a bat that you want.
It's true. It's going to be a low price bat, but the Rays may pull off a trade here before the end of the day. We don't know, but it's going to go down to those two guys. Tampa Bay is going to have to beat Toronto. They're going to have to be.
And on the plus side, at least they know Baltimore's traded a few pieces. They traded Mancini yesterday. They traded their closer Jorge Lopez to Minnesota this morning.
Right.
So Baltimore, give Baltimore credit because we usually bag on Baltimore because they've been such a horrible team. But they're above 500. They realize though that this team probably isn't a true playoff contender. They're overachieving at this point. And they're trying to get some more young guys in to bolster that team for the future.
Well, I know in the case of Mancini, they wanted to give Trey a chance to win a ring. And so they sent him to Houston, which gives him a good chance to win a ring. So that was kind of like what can we do to help somebody who's helped us for many years? And I think that was the rationale behind sending Trey out. Plus, they picked up a couple of decent young players. So,
I give credit to the organization for doing that because a lot of times you won't see that happen.
Mm-hmm. And that's what Rizzo did last year for Scherzer because Scherzer wasn't going to sign back, and he figured, all right, let me send you to the Dodgers. You get a chance to win another ring. And, I just got this in that the Red Sox are listening to multiple teams about Nathan Eovaldi at this point. Them pulled the trigger.
That's Joey, just because that's based on postseason experience because nobody wants him.
The Dodgers are closing in on a deal to acquire Joe. From the Yankees reports, Pat Pagazani, Sports Illustrated, for pitching prospect Clayton Beeter. And
why would the Giants want Joey Gallo?
I have no idea. Susan Schlusser, who's a fantastic baseball writer for San Francisco Chronicle, says that the Giants are in talks with multiple teams about Carlos Rendon. And
there's a lot of teams that need starting pitching. You saw the Cardinals yesterday. They swung that deal to get Quintana from the Pirates. Now, what'll be funny is if they get Quintana from the Pirates. Ooh, the Blue Jays made a trade. I'm surprised.
Yeah, the Blue Jays made a trade. There's a lot of stuff flying around here, boys and girls. So, before you make that bet tonight, this might be a good night not to make a bet. Unless you're betting against the Nationals against Jacob deGrom, but
David said the Cardinals
definitely interesting stuff. All right, let's go.
Need Rodon. What would be fitting for them would be if they got Quintana and he returned to form that we've seen him the last few years, where he couldn't get anybody out.
Right.
Because I think that would be funny if they got him and he just fell off a cliff.
Right. Nathan's right. They are contractually obligated to play tonight. So there's that. All right, let's go for 2 for the money.
All right.
Whoops, my bad.
No, you're good.
Braves
That's where we
Phillies.
need to be.
Yeah. Okay.
This comes down to the pitching matchup. Spencer Strider going for the Braves. The Phillies countering with how beat up the back end of the Phillies rotation is. Eflin's been on the IL since June. Kyle Gibson's on the bereavement list. So the back of the rotation right now is Nelson and Bailey Falter and Ranger Suarez.
Mm-hmm.
You take those first two guys with Nola and Wheeler, and you got a good front of the rotation. But after that, it goes right off a cliff. So I'm going to take Strider and the Braves at home. The Braves, kudos to them. They noticed that they got a hometown guy that has done some stuff. Austin Riley, broke Hank Aaron's record for base hits in a month. Signed into a 10-year contract yesterday, so he'll stick around for a while.
Yep. And they've got what? They've got 4 or 5 guys under long-term contracts.
Yeah.
That is basically the core of their team. So good on them for doing it. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, Acuna
I watched
Swanson.
Isn't Dan? Yeah. They have a good farm system, so that's something to look forward to as well. The Guardians in Arizona, that is a bizarre. I watched a little bit of that game last night.
Yeah, it was definitely a weird game. I expected better pitching from Quantrill, but he gave a couple of homers.
Mm-hmm.
But, they ended up winning at 11. And this one, it's going to be another good pitching matchup. You got Zach Gallen going for the Diamondbacks. You got Tristan McKenzie going for Cleveland. This comes down to, let's face it, Arizona's terrible on the road. Gallen's been inconsistent of late. McKenzie struggled against Boston in his last start, gave up 4 runs in 7 innings, mainly because he got tagged for a 3-run homer by Bogarts. I think it was in the 6th. So he took the loss. Before that, in his first 4 starts in July, he had given up 1 run in 26 2/3 innings. Arizona doesn't scare me at the plate with their lineup. So I'll take Cleveland. I think McKenzie's a better pitcher than Gallen at this point. Then we talked about the Dodgers already, and the Yankees. I thought about this for a while. I was going to put the Padres in there with Darvish, but the number was a little bit too high for me to plug into a 2-teamer. It's Jameson Taillon going against Logan Gilbert. The difference in this between these two teams basically right now, offense. Seattle doesn't have any. They need to get another bat if they can find one, be it Contreras, be it anybody that can put the ball in play. Because Ty France is hurt. J-Rod is on the IL.
Right.
And the Yankees, the Yankees are the Yankees, and they're going to put up 4 or 5 runs in their sleep on pretty much every night.
Do you think that Judge beats Maris's record of 61 home runs?
Well, I mean, the tough part for anybody that's pitching to him is you can't really walk him, because then what? You walk him and you face Rizzo, or you face Torres, or you face, Stanton when he's healthy. Right. It's not like when Maris was playing where you had, the lineup wasn't as deep then, at least not in power hitters.
Right.
So he's got a shot if he stays healthy, and if they don't, sit him for a bunch of games to keep him healthy.
Yeah, he's also right-handed.
True.
And in that ballpark, which is made for left-handers, he hits the ball to every field. I don't know that there's I've watched his swing. I don't know where you pitch him that he doesn't hit the ball.
You hit him in the helmet.
But that's one place, yeah. One other quick thing, and that is, to me, the Dodgers-San Francisco Giants rivalry is far better than the Yankees and the Red Sox. True. They don't like each other. I mean, we're talking about the fan bases don't like each other. The players don't like each other. And it means something when the Dodgers beat the Giants. It means something when the Giants beat the Dodgers. The Red Sox and the Yankees, it doesn't mean anything anymore.
Yeah, I mean the Cubs-Cardinals rivalry is like that too, because I mean even down here, there's people that are Cardinals fans that every
Sure.
time I go to the grocery store, I see them and they talk about how great they are, and I point out that they haven't won a World Series in a while.
It's been a minute, yeah.
So it's entertaining and also funny. It's too bad Steen's not here because David said the Royals are proud to announce they have no one worth trading.
I saw that. That was funny, David. They already traded the one thing that they had worth. Mr. Benintendi.
I mean, they might be able to trade some barbecue, but I don't know what anybody would offer up for it.
It's point well taken. 4 for the show, my friend. The Cardinals.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I have to go with the Cardinals over the Cubs just because I don't know if Ian Happ or Contreras are going to be in the lineup by the time we get to 8:05 or whatever.
Yeah.
Wainwright and Keegan Thompson going there. The next one, I had to sneak this one in just because, I think that this is the biggest mismatch of the day. I know we talked about the Mets and the Nationals.
Right.
But the Brewers and the Pirates have 5 guys that have hit double-digit homers, so they're better than Tampa Bay. 2 of them they put in the minors. A third guy they traded. So you figure out what Bob Nutting is doing there. Also, in case you're wondering, Corbin Burns in his career, 6-0 against the Pirates, 2.63 ERA, 62 strikeouts, and 51 and a third innings. This Pittsburgh team is a train wreck. Mixed with a dumpster fire, splashed with Chernobyl. Serve. They're absolutely dreadful. I'm surprised that they hung on to third place in the Central as long as they did. I think reality sets in down the stretch, and this is another team that goes nowhere. Yeah, and like Nathan said, Bryce Wilson won it.
Right.
6 is the ERA. It was against Milwaukee, but it wasn't against Burns.
Were you surprised?
Then we got the Blue Jays. We talked about them.
Yeah.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say the White Sox. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was going to say the White Sox, it's then they flipped it and put Daniel Lynch in there. I'm surprised that the Royals are actually this close to a favorite or an underdog. I mean, considering how poorly they played and how they have no players. And we've talked a lot about the AL Central and how we bagged on Tony La Russa and the White Sox all season long. And you sit here and you look, and they're only 3 games out of first in late July, early August, and they're sitting at 500, and they're getting healthy.
Right.
And that's the most dangerous thing for Cleveland and Minnesota.
Yeah, I was surprised that – I was just going to say, I was surprised that the White Sox didn't make a move because they got the money to do it, and they've got the farm system to do it. Thought that they would.
Yeah, that's true. I'm surprised that, unless they're still kicking the tires on something.
There's
always that possibility.
Pointed out. I mean, the wins. I really am, because I thought they might look at that and go, you know what? We are in a situation, everybody was out to hang Tony before the beginning of for the season. And you would think with the kind of cash and Minnesota does, neither of those teams have the resources that nobody called me. So
right, and Minnesota, they need some starting pitching. Minnesota's trotting. Minnesota trotting out Chris Archer again today, a guy who has yet to record an out in the 6th inning of any start this season. I mean, most of the time he doesn't even make it through the 5th, and you're going to try to trot him out every 5th day as a starting pitcher. I don't like it. If I'm the Twins, you've got to get somebody in that rotation that has some experience and that can actually get you some depth, because he is not it. I mean, you brought out Aaron Sanchez again yesterday, not the guy from MasterChef for the Food Channel, the guy that used to pitch for the Blue Jays and and the Astros, who fell off a cliff and has an ERA of about 8. You brought him back to pitch yesterday. You've got Pineda, who's hurt all the time. You've got Sonny Gray. You got Joe Ryan. You got to get somebody that can stick around.
Right. It's funny, but in my nearly 4 years of covering baseball, that always is the case. They always ask for more. And then at the end of the day, from a general manager standpoint, it's you ask for more and you settle for what you can accept. I don't know if you guys saw, I'm sure you've all watched Moneyball, but there's that great scene where Billy Beane is sitting there trying to make a trade deadline decision. And he's got 3 different general managers on 3 different phones saying, I'll call Shapiro in Cleveland. I'll call, Steve Phillips in New York. And he's bouncing back and forth about who can he afford, who can he afford, how can he get this guy? And that's kind of what it is. I mean, it's at the end of the day, you've got a 6 o'clock deadline. Can you get what you want or close enough to what you want to pull the trigger on a deal? And at the end of the day, that's how it works out. So, yeah, everybody asks for the world. Are they going to give it to you? Well, that depends on how bad they want that player.
Right.
I mean, San Diego certainly wanted Juan Soto because they gave away, the proverbial farm.
Yeah, and you have to wonder, can San Diego replenish their farm system without, watching things fall apart?
I don't think they're as concerned about that. I think they're concerned about we've got a 3 or 4 year window here with the guys we have under contract. Let's make a run for it. And the fans will forgive us if we win a World Series and we have to take a couple of years off. But
true.
I think that's where they are. They realize, we can sneak in there and maybe make, who knows? Once you get in the playoffs, you never know what's going to happen. So I think their goal was get us in there. And we got, they got some heavy duty firepower. And the fact that Tatis is coming back and taking BP today, that's big news in San Diego.
But the question is, will their offense be able to do enough to bail out their pitching?
Well, you're right. I don't know. I mean, they're not going to catch the Dodgers. I mean, that's not going to happen. But can they get into the wild card position in such a way where they can host the wild card game? Because as you said, Darvish and all the rest of their pitchers are better at home than they are on the road. Personally, if I played at Petco Park, that's where I would want to play all my games, but that's not how it works. So, what are you going to do, right?
Exactly.
So onward to the big board.
Yep. Let's head there. And look at that. We got a whole bunch of stuff.
Oh, man.
Jose Ramirez over 1.5 total bases. I was disappointed yesterday when he went 0 for 4. But it's a good value for a guy that's still hitting in the 280s, considering the average major leaguer's hitting about 235. Ohtani, apparently the Angels aren't going to trade him. One thing I will say, if you're looking at the A's-Angels game, watch out and see if Noah Syndergaard is gone by the time we get to the game time, because he's slated to start, and if he's gone, well, it makes things even better for Oakland, who I like anyway as an underdog. This Angels team has gone nowhere. But if Syndergaard does pitch, don't be hesitant to go and throw a couple of bucks on a random prop for some guy. Look at Oakland speedsters like Sky Bolt or Tony Kemp or anybody like that to steal a base, because Syndergaard can't hold on a sloth and keep him from stealing a base. I mean, look, he gave up one to Jesus Aguilar a couple weeks ago. Mookie Betts, how he's plus money in this situation, I don't know. In his career against Alex Wood, he's 7 of 11. With a couple homers, his OPS is over 2,000 against him. Austin Riley, all the guy does is hit. We talked about it earlier. He broke Hank Aaron's record for extra base hits in a month.
Right.
He's on a 20-some game hit streak, and he's facing the Phillies, a team that he has beaten up on of late. Yordan Alvarez, still don't understand how he's plus money on any given night. He gets to face Cutter Crawford and the awful Red Sox bullpen. Who knows who Boston will have left by the time we get to 6 o'clock? Like Jim said, make sure you double check those things.
Right.
Nationals team total over 5.5. Guess what? I had this up here yesterday. They put up 7. Now they get to face, even worse of a pitching matchup than they did yesterday. At least yesterday, Washington had the semblance of a starting pitcher, if you want to call Patrick Corbin that. But today, like we said, it's Corey Abbott, who has a grand total of as many major league wins as Rye, Jim, and Andrew put together, which is none. The Mets should be able to light him up and then get into that, Sharman soft Washington bullpen to put runs up as well. The Orioles and the Rangers. Jordan Lyles taking on Spencer Howard. I usually rip on Jordan Lyles, but he's pitched fairly decently. Spencer Howard has one good start. It came against the Angels. I watched the Orioles rough up John Gray yesterday en route to a 7-2 win. Baltimore, nobody's told them, or if they did, Baltimore hasn't listened when people have told them they're not supposed to be above 500 in August. Braxton Garrett of the Marlins, over 5.5 strikeouts. He's been a good pitcher, He could be the next good guy from Miami that gets traded, like Alcantara or Pablo Lopez, who's been rumored today to be dealt somewhere. So watch out for that. Corbin Burns, over 8.5 strikeouts. Come on, it's the Pirates. I've watched the Pirates make guys that, can't strike anybody out look like Nolan Ryan in his prime. Burns can whiff guys like there's no tomorrow. Pittsburgh's lineup, not intimidating. But they do create a lot of wind energy.
Yeah, they do. They're it's a very green energy that they have there. Ryan's welcome. Hey, Ryan, enjoying your time in Lake Tahoe. And we like having you there. That's cool.
Yeah, you do a lot of traveling, Ryan.
This just was traded, but to the Boston Red Sox. So the Red Sox are, they're going to eat. The Padres are going to eat a sizable chunk of Mr. Hosmer's contract. The players that they get back in that deal, which are not yet decided, one of them may end up a Nationals uniform. So exactly what Chris and I mentioned earlier at the beginning of this conversation was that look at how this thing can go down. The trade will go down between Soto and the Nationals, but with or without Hosmer, and now Hosmer is gone to the Red Sox, and one of the two people that they are getting back in return, which we don't know exactly who that is right now, might be headed to DC, or another person out of their farm system may be headed that way. But one way or another, that trade's going to get done. And Rye brings up the point that the Braves, Mets, and Dodgers are still better than Padres. I'm not going to argue that point. What I'm going to say this: how many times have we seen wildcard teams who got hot in September and go into October, and suddenly you're looking up and going, wait a minute, we won 100 games and we're sitting home during this time. So, what you're looking at right now, I'm not going to argue. The Braves are good. The Mets are good. The Dodgers are fine. But I would not sleep on, the Padres, because if history is any indicator, we've seen teams just get hot in September, roll into the playoffs, and suddenly, I'll be honest, in 2019, when Josh Hader gave up that single to Juan Soto that was overrun by the right fielder, they had that game won, the Brewers, and they lost. So from there on, so, right now, 100%, I'm with you 100%, Andrew. San Diego's good. I'm sorry. There's Rye. The Braves, Mets, and Dodgers, they're fantastic. Anything can happen, and usually it does. So we'll see. It's why they play the games. It is why they. Let's see what else we got. Is it Hosmer? Eric Hosmer, yeah. Snap into it. The Buffalo Bills. Lex.
Yeah, Hosmer's a double play machine, but he's also a lot better defensively.
I like the Bills.
But Hosmer's a better defensive first baseman than Franchi Cordero and Bobby Dahlbeck. which is probably why Boston made the deal. It's going to at least help them defensively. May not help them a ton offensively because he's probably a wash with those other guys, but maybe they can stop giving up unearned runs.
I'm a little curious as to. Well, anyway, there's time left on Hosmer's contract, so
yeah, through like 2025.
Yeah, so they got time to figure out what they're going to do with him. I have no idea. Maybe he'll get a second wind in Boston, but that would be a surprise. We wish him well, as the old. Any other questions?
Yes, we wish him well,
boys and girls. Before we exit stage left.
No, it looks pretty quiet. David just said that Eric is better defensively, so I mean that's a true statement.
Yes, we do. We wish him well in his future. Yeah, it is. It's a true statement. And it's a good indication. Routine situation. That's a fact. All right, boys and girls. Any other questions before we leave for the day? Going once, going twice. Christopher, any final thoughts?
Just watch out and see what happens in the next few hours. And that's all you can say is just watch what happens in the next few hours at the trade deadline and see what happens. Could be a lot of deals going down in the last couple hours. Nathan, I'd say Braves, Dodgers bets. You could throw the Brewers in there. If you wanted to, you could really put the Padres in there in game 1, but that game starts in about an hour and 15 minutes. Ryan, I don't think the Elks play today. It's Tuesday. I don't think there's a CFL game today, is there? If there was, I was unaware of it. Oh yeah, the Elks don't play. The Elks don't play till Saturday.
Okay.
So we can talk about that tomorrow or Thursday. Early emphasis would say no. I would take BC minus the points.
We're not that far from the beginning of the upcoming preseason in football. So,
Hall of Fame game Thursday night.
Boys and girls. All right. Well, speaking of football, interesting. And Andrew, we appreciate you coming and joining. Do us a favor. On your way out, smack that like button, hit and subscribe, because we always want to have our good group, and you guys are a good group, drop by. And it's fun because we get to interact with you, and you bring very entertaining and very interesting questions to the party. Plus, you also our research department. Sometimes you correct us, and it's always good to get that. So anyway, I see Alexis. Don't forget that over on Max Wagers at 3 or on Picks and Parlays, see the football power hour. They're going to be talking football all day long for an hour. So check out today's version over on information. Detroit Lenny is in the in the air chair today. So go say let me try this again. Go say hello to Detroit Lenny for us and enjoy it. So guys, until tomorrow, when I either will or won't be here, but Chris will be here because he's contractually obligated to be here. It's always a pleasure. It's always fun, boys and girls. We will see you soon. Be well. Take care. And as Chris says, be careful tonight. We don't know what's going to happen. Until that time, be well. See you next time right here on Picks and Parlays, just Parlays with the man, the legend, Chris King. Guys, be well. Take care.
So long, everybody.
So long, everybody.